Hello, everybody. Just a point of clarification. I have not done traffic planning. You could say I'm a kind of a critic of transport policy of the city, and that is how, which has a role which has encouraged me to understand more about traffic planning and transport policy generally. Although I do not have any special expertise in talking about sound pollution, but I will definitely talk a little bit about transport planning in Mumbai and the direction in which it is heading, and the various the general priorities of the state and city governments, and even the national government for that matter. The recent announcement on transport policy, especially metro systems and so on. So that has a lot to do with the way in which the city's transport system is being shaped. And a large part of the consequences of traffic, whether it's noise pollution, accidents, sound pollution, and so on, are a consequence uh, of the way in which transport is done in the city. And anybody will tell you that if you have more cars, if you have more two-wheelers, if you have more private modes of transport, you will have a host of problems that go with them. Pollution is one of them, but then there are also others such as fuel consumption, air pollution, and so on. So basically, the general thrust of my presentation is going to be that we must be focused on improving and expanding our public transport systems, and trying to make it uh, difficult or expensive for private owners to choose private modes of transport. And but that is not enough, because unless public transport is expanded, you can't simply make it difficult to use private transport, which is not very good practice. So I'll be showing a few slides just to have a discussion. My presentation is supposed to be really short, so I won't say very much, just a few key points. And just let me share my screen. Sumera, can you see my screen?
Yes, we can see your screen.
And still, or it has gone?
No, we can still see your
Okay.
screen. You
Okay.
can make it full screen
Yeah,
if
it is
it's
full screen already.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So the question really is, how do people in Mumbai travel? And this is a chart which kind of gives a good historical perspective, a recent historical perspective on how the city has been moving over the past 20 years or so. If you In this chart, if you see at the bottom, there is 1998, 2008, 2018, and there's a projection to 2024. Um, Traffic planners call the data in this
So,
chart is
sorry
what.
to interrupt.
Yeah, yeah, sorry.
We can't see the chart.
You
We can
can't see
only
the chart?
see
Oh,
now we can only see yeah, now we can see the chart. Yeah.
one second, one second. So I guess I have to make it full screen first and then share the slide. One second.
Just click the present bottom on the bottom right.
Yeah,
Will make
just
yeah.
one second. I'll just stop sharing first. Um, all right, share screen, presenting, share. Okay, now this is visible, right?
Yes.
Okay, so this is the chart. Um, um, Yeah. So if you look at the bar in the bottom, there is 98, 2008, 2018, and 2024. So there's a little bit of a projection. We have data till 2018. Now, if you look at this is what traffic planners, transport planners called modal shares. Um, I mean, it's very simply, if you go from your home to your workplace, that's one trip. And if you come back from your workplace to your home, that's two trips, right? So if you count all the trips that all the people in the city make, and then you divide it up into the mode of transport that they have taken, that is what is called a modal share, right? So if you look at the overall city, the modal shares of the city in 1998, almost about 75% of the city used either suburban rail or buses, and this is a very large share, modal share for public transport. And many cities in fact aspire to reach this kind of modal share for public transport. In fact, it's an active policy of many cities around the world to try to reach 70 to 80% public transport trips. We already had it in 98, but if you see the trend from 98 onwards, it has actually been going the other way, in a less sustainable, less energy intensive direction. So 2008, it dropped to 72.9%. And if you see 2018, it has dropped to 56%, which is extreme, very serious drop in public transport share. In 98, the city had 250,000 private four-wheelers. In 2008, it had 500,000 four-wheelers. In 2018, it has 1 million. So every 10 years, we are doubling the amount of cars on our roads. And if this continues, obviously, this is a highly counterproductive trend. And in fact, it is going to be a source of many, many more problems. One of them, obviously, the biggest one is that we are in a way relying more and more on fossil fuels, making making people depend more on fossil fuels, which leads to more pollution. And it is something that we must not be doing at this point. Incidentally, so the question is, what causes traffic jams in the city? And if there's a general perception that traffic jams are caused by buses, rickshaws, two-wheelers, and those are the main culprits when it comes to traffic problems, or traffic management problems, as it is called. But if you really look at the share of road space, what modes of transport occupy how much road space, and more importantly, just not the occupation of road space, but how many people do you move um, uh, by occupying that much road space, you'll see that actually cars account for a large share of the consumption of road space, but they move very few people. On the other hand, buses, like the BEST system, has about 1.1% of the road share, but it moves a very large number of people. And I mean, at some level, it's common sense, right? Buses can carry many more people, and if the buses can move faster, obviously, it can also move people much faster. So one of the things that we've been trying to advocate for a very long time is that the city should build more bus lanes, which again is a practice that you see in many cities around the world, where one lane of the arterial roads are dedicated for buses. Only buses can move there. Buses move faster. In fact, buses move faster than cars, and buses move more people faster than cars. So, which makes perfect sense. It is less polluting, it's more efficient, it's more sustainable. But somehow, this has been something that the city has been very reluctant to try and implement. In fact, what the city is doing, and that is the next question, it has been spending a lot of money on extremely expensive car oriented transport projects. And I mean, even by the own projections of the uh, of these projections of these projects, you will find that there is very little that justifies the enormous expense of this project, and the and simply the number of people it's going to move. So for instance, if you look at these numbers, the coastal road, the south section of the coastal road, which is a 10 kilometer long section, it is, if you take the cost per person per kilometer for 20 years, it costs the city 22 rupees to move one person on the coastal road. If you take the Bandra Versova Sea Link, it's 15.4. Bandra Worli Sea Link is around 10. Trans Harbour Link is 10 point something. Metro is 0.88. So you can see that the metro actually, because it moves so many more people, the cost to move a single person, a single trip is much less. On the other hand, if you create a bus lane, a BRTS on the Western Express Highway, is going to cost 18 paise to move a person over 20 years. So this is the economics of transport. But if you see where is the city spending, it is mainly on these car-oriented projects, also on metros, and we're spending on metros because metros do not really affect car transport, even though the metro planners say it does. But if you look at the way metros are being planned in the city, they are on arterial roads, which means that car users don't really have an incentive to move to the metro. Um, People would prefer using the metros if they would move in the north-south direction rather than, sorry, east-west direction rather than the north-south direction, which is except for the Metro Line 3 to some extent, and the Metro 3, which is already constructed. Most are going in the north-south direction. Why should we worry about these different modes of transport? And the simple reason is that if you look at the numbers of how much fuel uh, do you consume, does each trip consume in different modes of transport? So, for instance, if you take a car, how much does it cost in terms of fuel versus if you take a suburban railway and so on? So, the suburban railway costs 25 paise per passenger kilometer. That is the fuel cost, which means it translates into pollution. The city bus system is 60 paise, metro is 2 rupees, because metro also has a lot of other infrastructure, stations, and air conditioning, and so on. Two-wheelers is 2.66 and four-wheelers is 5.5. Again, if you look at where is the city spending at the moment, what infrastructure is being built, you'll find that all of the infrastructure is in the latter three, very little for the first two, which is actually a very, very alarming trend. So, and we have an extremely contradictory traffic planning, regime. If you look at the DPR of the Metro 3, the main argument that is being made for the construction of metro and for that enormous public expenditure on that system is that it will reduce reliance on four-wheelers. That is what the numbers are trying to argue. On the other hand, if you look at the DPR for the coastal road, it says that it is going to help move cars faster. Now, every traffic planner understands that if you build more highways, you create more cars. It is very simple. It's very intuitive if you think about it. If you have a road outside your house, you have more inducement to invest in a four-wheeler and or a two-wheeler and use that road. If you don't have that road, you will prefer to use a public transport system. Or if you have a bus lane, you would rather choose a bus lane because it's cheaper and it's quicker. Um, but we are not doing that. We are doing the other thing. And as a result, we have more vehicles on the road, more private vehicles, we have more traffic, we have more pollution, we have more noise pollution, and all the other problems that go with the poor planning, transport planning in the city. Yeah, that's it. Thank you.